What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be going over the next iteration, the next course, if you will, in our extraction training A to Z, where we teach you everything in the video playlist. So make sure you check that video playlist out. Everything that you need to know to build, work, and make money in a professional cannabis extraction environment. Got all that you need there, as well as a striking update on some current events going around in the United States. And when I say striking, it is striking. So you're going to want to stay tuned for all of that. Got a bit to cover today. So without any further ado, let us go ahead and dive right on in to the content. Man, I tell you what, when I say striking, I mean striking. We used to dream of the days that we would see headlines like this: Trump planning to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug. United States President Donald Trump is considering reclassifying to Schedule III marijuana as a less dangerous drug since pot companies have poured millions of dollars into Trump's political group, said a Washington Post report, citing people familiar with the matter. Trump told attendees at a $1 million a plate fundraiser at his New Jersey golf club earlier in the month. He is interested in the change, the report says, and he cited people that are asking for anonymity.
You posted recently about marijuana and that you're okay with it being legalized, but it has to be done safely. Can you explain your policy there?
Well, I just put out a paper. And first of all, medical marijuana has been amazing. I've had friends and I've had others and doctors telling me that it's been absolutely amazing, the medical marijuana. And we put out a statement that we can live with the marijuana. It's got to be a certain age. Got to be a certain age to buy it. It's got to be done in a very concerted, lawful way. And the way they're doing it in Florida, I think, is going to be actually good. It's going to be very good.
Well, I tell you what, first off, one of the CEOs that paid one of those $1 million a plate to go and be there was the CEO of Trulieve, one of the nation's largest producers of cannabis. And I think if I'm hearing through the grapevine correctly, we are going to be seeing some executive orders coming down to try and push marijuana down into a Schedule III. That would open up the market for a massive amount of money. So it's definitely good that you are, pay attention and learning from these videos, right? So we're going to want to stay tuned to the end to see the next iteration of that. Also, on the adverse of the current events, that wasn't exciting. Maybe this is exciting. In a federal case filed July 16th, 2025, investigators allege that Tristan Samuel, known by aliases such as Trizzy, El Chapo. First off, if you're going to be doing illegal cannabis activity, let's not name yourself El Chapo, okay? And Marlo Mawaya Stanfield led a conspiracy to distribute narcotics from Los Angeles to the United Kingdom. And when they say narcotics, what they mean is marijuana. Come on, guys, let's be real here. What's alarming is how the case was built. Authorities traced 2 international FedEx packages back to an IP address that was used to check the package's tracking numbers. Yes, that IP tied to Charter Communications pointed to a device in Los Angeles. Subpoenas then linked the IP to Tristan's Apple iCloud account, unlocking message logs, device syncs, and evidence matching the shipment timelines. His online activity was central to the case. FedEx tracking numbers were linked to drug shipments, iCloud data confirmed login locations, social media and aliases like Trizzy tied him to the conversation about exports, photos and geotags placed him at key points in the timeline. This is how federal drug cases are built in 2025. All metadata is evidence. Aliases are identity. Your cloud is not private, and gray market operators shipping, scaling, and or marketing services online should definitely take notice. All of my guys out there doing the hemp farm bill, transporting, doing all those different things, just know that just by checking the FedEx tracking packages, just by checking the tracking, they were able to go back to his IP address and unlock his iCloud account. For all of my people out there saying, Apple doesn't share your data. Well, think again, my friend. Think again. Now, let's get into the intro to solvent recovery. This is another critical key component in your laboratory if you are going to, in fact, be building, working, and making money in that laboratory. So let's jump into the meat and potatoes. Here's a Rotovap Intro to Solvent Recovery. After an initial solvent-based extraction, if you're watching the other videos, ethanol, so on and so forth, and optional refinement procedures, solvent recovery is necessary to remove the solvent from the botanical extract solution. Solvent recovery is by far the most crucial step in creating any solvent-extracted botanical extract. Failure to properly recover an extraction solvent from a botanical extract can result in an unsafe extract for consumption. For this reason, the process of solvent recovery should always be performed extensively and validated by a third-party testing lab to ensure no detectable levels of the solvent remain within the finished extract. And I put all of these words down. I read every single one of them. That way, if you're driving in the car, you can absorb all of this information without having to directly look at the video. Evaporation is a basic principle behind the solvent recovery process. To evaporate the solvent from a botanical extract, heat must be applied effectively to perform the evaporative process. Evaporation occurs when a compound, in this case the solvent, within a botanical extract is heated to its boiling point. During this process, once sufficient heat is applied, the botanical extract solution will be observed to boil as the solvent evaporates from the botanical extract solution, or crude oil. While the process of evaporation is a function of the heat applied to the solution, the efficiency of this process can be significantly increased by pulling the solvent recovery apparatus under a vacuum. When under reduced pressure, the form of vacuum is applied to a sealed container. The ambient pressure a compound must overcome in order to evaporate is diminished. This reduction of ambient pressure reduces the resistance a compound must overcome in order to evaporate, which in turn increases the rate of evaporation. The level of heat and vacuum the extract solution is subjected to will determine the rate at which the solvent will be purged from the extract. The more heat, the faster the process. But the more heat, this may lead to possible degradation of the botanical extract and the evaporation of the more volatile compounds within the extract, i.e. terpenes. That's why the vacuum is significantly important. When it comes to the solvent recovery process, the preservation of lighter volatile compounds within a botanical extract like terpenes should always be secondary to the complete removal of residual solvents. Always aim to apply appropriate heat to fully evaporate the solvent from a botanical extract until no detectable levels remain within the extract. This can be easily achieved by heating the botanical extract solution to the boiling point of the extraction solvent while under vacuum until extract consistency stabilizes and boiling is no longer observed. A common misconception is that a solvent extracted extract will always have some residual solvent left in it. That is incorrect. When solvent recovery is performed properly, all the residual solvent from the extraction process can be effectively purged to non-detectable levels. So for all my people out there that are like, I only want to utilize rosin because it is completely solvent-free and I am really in tune with my health. Well, I'm here to tell you that as long as the solvent recovery process has been performed in adequate scientific nature, you definitely do not have any detectable levels of solvent left in the extract, and therefore you are not ingesting any detectable levels of solvent in the extract. It's really quite that simple. After completing solvent recovery of a botanical extract, an extract should never be assumed. You know what they say about assumptions? To be free of residual solvent. The only way to ensure a botanical extract is in fact free of residual solvent is to have the extract tested by an independent and third-party laboratory to ensure its status is free of residual solvents. The process of removing solvent from a botanical extract can be performed in a variety of different apparatuses, ranging from a simple distillation mantle, boiling flask, you could even use a glass reactor, it would take you forever, but you could do it to a more complex rotary evaporators, falling film evaporators. This chapter will cover the most common forms of solvent recovery, rotary evaporation, and vacuum purging using a vacuum oven. So, here you have a rotary evaporator, everything that comes with it. This would be considered a turnkey rotary evaporator. Obviously, it would have the chilling unit for the condensing coil. Right up here, the vacuum pump to bring everything under vacuum. Here's your heating. Hopefully it goes up and down, because back in the old days, we used to have these hand cranks where we would have to hand crank it up and down, and that was, it gets old after a while. Rotary evaporators are effective solvent recovery apparatuses, my favorite to be sure, that apply basic principles of vacuum distillation to recover solvent from a botanical extract. Rotary evaporators are used to distill solvents from botanical extract solutions with precise evaporation. Rotary evaporators are especially useful when separating organic compounds from ethanol or any other non-volatile low boiling point solvents, heptane, so on and so forth. Rotary evaporators provide increased efficiency over standard mantle-based vacuum distillation apparatuses due to the constant rotation of the boiling flask as it is partially submerged in the heating bath. The constant rotation of the boiling flask creates a thin layer of the solution over the inner surface while evenly heating the outside surface of the boiling flask, which results in increased evaporation rates in comparison to standard mantle-based distillation apparatuses. While rotary evaporators effectively remove the bulk of the solvent from an ethanol extraction, there may still be a trace amount of solvents that can be removed during devolatilization, decarboxylation, if you're not familiar with that word, or purged utilizing a vacuum oven or a hot plate inside of an appropriately rated fume hood. Another pro tip: when you are coming out of solvent recovery and going into decarboxylation, the internal temperature of your oil will never reach over 90 degrees Celsius as long as there's ethanol still present. So you can heat that thing up, and as soon as it reaches 90 degrees, it will reach equilibrium in its internal temperature until it lets go of all of that ethanol. Once you start to jump over the 90 degrees Celsius, you can be sure that you have in fact purged most of it off. Vacuum purging is an essential post-processing procedure utilized to remove residual solvent from the botanical extract process, mainly in the LPG systems, butane, hydrocarbon, propane. Vacuum purging is typically performed as the final post-processing step for a botanical extract to remove any residual solvent remaining in the concentrates. Vacuum purging is most effectively achieved utilizing a vacuum oven or a heated vacuum chamber. Vacuum ovens are vessels specifically designed to operate under reduced pressures or vacuum and apply sufficient heat in order to fully recover solvent from a botanical extract. Vacuum ovens use the same basic principles of vacuum distillation in order to evaporate residual solvent remaining in a botanical extract. However, the thin layer would be spread over a sheet. And here you have one of these cheap vacuum ovens from Best Value Vacs, and nice little vacuum pump. Mainly, you might want to have you a little turp trap up there, or an even stronger vacuum pump. Completely up to you, but you can get a lot done, make a lot of good quality products that are solvent free utilizing, this method here. Okay, where am I at? Aha, I see. Okay, both solvent recovery and vacuum purging are essential to creating a botanical extract free of residual solvent. When it comes to solvent recovery, always aim to remove any and all of the solvent from the extraction process to non-detectable levels. An extract should never be assumed to be free of residual solvent. To ensure a botanical extract is free of residual solvent, each batch should be validated by an independent third-party testing laboratory. This is a recap in case you didn't pick up on that. If the testing results show there are still detectable levels of solvent remaining in the extract, the solvent recovery and the vacuum purging process should be continued until testing confirms that the extract is free of residual solvent. And I put this in here just in case you are doing those mass quantities of ethanol extraction. There is always some solvent left over inside of the biomass. You can normally assume about 3 to 5% of the ethanol that you used will be soaked up by the biomass. And if you're in a critical infrastructure with mega amounts of ethanol being flown through that laboratory environment every single day, then you will find that this adds up really quick. And so as some risk mitigation or some loss mitigation, you can also get something like this CP4 screw press. After the botanical extraction process, there's some solvent left in it. You can run it through the screw press to recover the majority of the residual solvent that is in the biomass left over from your extraction process. And that is just an intro to solvent recovery, because we are going to be going in depth in the next video, which will come out next week. We're going to do one every week for you guys, right? A new part every week. You'll be able to go back and look at the playlist that is called Extraction Training A to Z, and from literally A to Z, you can have all of the training that is necessary, all of the knowledge, all of the theory, WKU, all of the wisdom, knowledge, understanding necessary to be able to work, make money, and facilitate a cannabis extraction facility. We also have a Discord that you guys can sign up into, so definitely check that out. That's in the pinned comment section. Lots of information there for somebody that's just getting up and going on. I know that a lot of people out there might be thinking, well, the market is saturated. It's all screwed. The prices of distillate and everything, they're basically into the toilet. Well, I'm telling you something. The EU market is opening up. So if you're in the EU, I'm working on getting you some videos in your languages and the different languages in the European Union. But also, this is a good part for you because that market is about to explode. I'm telling you that. And if you watch the first part of the video where we said that Trump might declassify to a Schedule 3, you haven't even seen the amount of money that the cannabis industry can make. So you are still early. I'm happy to have you here. You're still early. You still have a chance to get your foot in the door before all of the global conglomerates come and suck all the capital or buy out anybody and put a monopoly on cannabis everywhere. Now's your time to get that chunk of change, that slice of pie, that Lamborghini, if you will. Guys, it has been a blessing, a privilege, nay, an honor to be able to teach and consult with you today. If you like this video, maybe you'll like one of these popping over my shoulders. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.